San Francisco 49ers.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of Talk About Sports. We will get started here as soon as some others jump in. Slips up past the 45 before being tackled. The drive starting play, a good one. Give him 19. A tough run by Ezekiel Elliott, the 4th overall pick in the 2016 draft.
If you watch tape of him in college, you saw plenty of those runs because I know the highlights showed him in the open field breaking away from people, but that's how he wore down defenses, those exact type of runs.
Start the drive, has him up near midfield here for 1st and 10.
Check. Fresno.
They keep on the ground with Elliott. And he's got this one across midfield into 49er territory. It's a 6-yard pickup, and it gets him to 2nd and 4.
A quick burst there, and he nicely bit off a pretty decent gain.
2nd and 4. The last run got 6, now 2nd and 4. Out of the gun, here's Prescott. Man open, that's complete to Dalton Schultz. And this will move the chains again as the tackle's going to be made at the 49ers 30. It's a pickup of 17 and a 1st down.
Nice methodical opening drive here. They're already into field goal range. They're in a good spot. You know that people like to take a shot in this part of the field. But at the same time, as methodical as they've been, they might want to run the ball a little bit here too.
And just on the outskirts of the red zone, they have options now. Either way, though, they've come out with a purpose. So 1st and 10 now from the 30.
Hey, watch that.
Prescott from the gun. Under pressure, and he will go down. Sack back at the 38.
Gotta give him points for the attempt, but there's
Just a couple more minutes, guys, and then we will get started.
So 2nd and long, and got to be careful not to fall out of field goal range.
Tight end right.
Another try after the 1st down sack. Prescott, he'll find Lamb. That's complete. 6 yards is the pickup, and that'll lead to a 3rd down.
One thing you're hoping for when you run drag routes, you're able to hit a receiver in stride, and he can pick up a lot of yardage after the catch. But in this situation, the defense was effective, able to stop him before he could get a good head of steam going.
49ers have an extra defense. From the shotgun, it's Prescott.
Gotcha, bitch.
General Kenobi.
They were probably hoping to get him a little bit closer for a shorter field goal, but he was able to get it done from deep.
Nice little tester for him to begin things, huh? I think he was open for a little bit more of a chip shot. Instead, they made him stretch it out a little bit, but he's got to feel great now that he put it through.
All right. Pull up my questions here. We'll go ahead and get started. We'll see if some others jump in here. But first question that I got for today is it fair that women's sports, basketball, softball, soccer, etc., get overlooked and compared to the men's sports? I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that they get overlooked, for one. Just because it's not as big bad, equal time for both. Yeah, absolutely. It's not fair that we have to we don't give the women's sports of the same thing the time of day just because it's less entertaining for you. They just play the game different. Maybe if they got promoted more and shown on TV more often, then they would gain more traction. Yeah, I completely agree with that. They're doing the same thing that the men are, and they should be given the same, airspace, if you will. I don't understand why we have to compare the two. It's the same game, but between the men and women, it's played different. Um, as far as me, when I'm thinking of the two and how the games are played, whether it be basketball or even soccer, the women's game is going to be played at a different pace and a different kind because the women's, as far as I can see, it's more about finesse and that kinds of shit. Whereas the men's game is more about showing that power and the that sort of dominance over the other players. But that doesn't make to me that doesn't make the game any less entertaining. It's entertaining regardless, and I've seen plenty of women in various sports that were just as good, if not better, than the men. So that's my feeling on it. But yeah, I definitely agree that the women's sport should be given just as much airtime and promoting as the men's sides as the men's sports do. All right. If somebody else ends up jumping into the Taco Society Discord chat, that's where I am at currently. So if anybody wants to jump in, they are more than welcome. But we'll probably go back to some of these questions if people jump in. The next one I got is, should women? We kind of touched on this last week. should women pro athletes get pay equivalent to the men in the same sport? I believe they should. Um, Again, they're to kind of touch on one of the things I said in the last question. They're doing the same job as the men. I feel that they should be getting pay that's equivalent. I mean, obviously, your top players, there's going to be a difference there. But as a rule, I think, the women playing WNBA should have a pay that's equivalent to what, the NBA players are making. Again, they're doing the same job. They're playing the same game. It should be pretty equal. You got anything on that one, Big Bad? Yeah, like I said, I definitely think that. Hey, Monkey, what's going on, bud? Thanks for stopping in. Just got started a little bit ago. Currently on the second question that I have. If somebody jumps into the Taco Society Discord chat, I will go back to some of the previous question. But the one we're on right now is, should women pro athletes get pay equivalent to the men in the same sport? Um, I believe they should. I mean, especially if you're talking, the WNBA compared to the NBA, they're playing the same sport. I believe that, you should be. They're playing the same sport. They're doing the same job. They're trying to accomplish the same thing. So I think, their pay should be equivalent to. Obviously, some of your stars or whatever for either side are gonna, you know be a difference there.
What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
How you doing, dude?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad at all.
Sweet. I hope I'm not too late, dude.
We just got started. We're gonna go back. I'll go back so you can answer the first one. We already did the first one, but
Okay.
the first question was: is it fair that women's sports, basketball, softball, soccer, etc., get overlooked and compared to the men's sports?
Is it fair that overlooked as in just not as many viewers?
Right. I mean, like they don't get the same airtime. They don't get the same promoting. They don't. They kind of just get put to the back burner unless it's a championship. Then they get the airtime.
Yeah, no. I don't think that that's fair. Um no, I definitely don't think that that's fair. Cuz I mean, if you as a female, if you are working your butt off just as hard as like Michael Jordan and stuff like that to get to the best of the best in basketball and women's basketball, and then you make it all the way there. You've dedicated. I mean, I can pretty much assume that you've dedicated your life towards becoming the best
Right.
to get to where you are, and then you get there and you just not viewed at the same as like Kobe is and Michael Jordan is, and you just don't get the respect that's due. I don't think that that's fair, and that's a lot of just because they don't promote women's sports nearly as much unless it's like, I mean, I know that like volleyball is like super promoted, but that, I mean, the argument could be made that that's for other reasons,
Right.
not just pure talent and stuff like that, and that's just an unfortunate thing that happens real world.
Right. Right. So the question you popped in on as we were finishing up there was, should women pro athletes get pay equivalent to the men in the same sport?
See, this is where it's tough. This
Right.
is where it's really tough. I think an ideal world, 100%, 100%. I mean, they work their butt off. They deserve to get paid a really really good salary. Um, but the thing of the matter is that women's sports don't bring in close to the amount of money that the men's sport does. And so I think that that's probably why they don't get paid as much, is because the revenue based off of what they do, it just doesn't add up to the same amount as like the men's. And that's a different kind of, going back to the first issue. They're just not marketed very well. They're just not promoted very well. I don't
Exactly.
think that has anything to do with skill, or I think that they should be paid the equivalent. But the thing of the matter is like, if we were to pay them the same amount as guys sports, I don't think that women's sports would be afloat for very long, because it's just it'd be too top heavy. So ideally, yes, they should get paid equivalent to men in the same sport. Yes, that is a goal that we should all be working towards. Real day rate now, I don't think that they could be paid equivalent without absolutely drowning the sport that they are in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Monkey Tart in chat says the entertainment value is the question. I, I
I
guess I
mean,
can see
yeah,
that. I mean, it especially when you're talking like women's basketball compared to the men's basketball. If you watch the two side by side, it is the same game, and they are played entirely differently.
100%.
You have the men who is, it's more about the speed and the power and a little bit of finesse, whereas I feel the women's sports gets away from the power side and it's more about the speed and the finesse and slowing down the game.
They
So
play more of like a college ball type thing. Like when I watch them, I feel like it's way more college. Like, you've got your plays that you want to do, and it's a lot more team ball as opposed to men's basketball. It's a lot more team, like getting the ball around, kind of getting the defense on their
right,
heels a
right.
little bit, and then taking advantage of that. Whereas um, in men's, you can kind of just be like, all right, dude, I'm just gonna straight up muscle my way right through here and hopefully make a play, and then you know that's, I mean, that's just kind of what I see. I mean, I see a lot of Michigan type ball
Hmm.
in the women's ball for sure.
I could definitely see that. What's going on, Short Fuse? I see you are in the stream chat. I appreciate you stopping in. All right. Next one I have here is, this was actually a question submitted by Nick, and it is, why do pro athletes go broke so quickly after retiring from their sport? And then the second part of that question, it would be, should they be paid less to encourage better financial control?
Absolutely not. To the second part, absolutely not. I mean, is it they got in the sport right because they're good at what they do. They're good ball players. Um, It completely falls on the person to become financially intelligent. They should be making the choice to educate themselves in the way of finances. That does not fall on the coach, does not fall on anybody except for the person making the money. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
But it also could come back to the fact that American uh, schooling systems need to be teaching more real world finances. That's like 100% a thing that I would vote for. That we have failed in teaching our kids is financial intelligence. We've taught them how to collect paychecks and how to be good workers, but we have not taught them at all how to grow their money and have their money work for them. And
Right.
that's just unfortunate. But no. I mean, I think that they're paid better than what they should be, but I think I think that that responsibility falls on themselves. I mean, I listen to podcasts and audiobooks all the time and I'm not even making six figures, but I'm trying my best to make every dollar work for me and stuff like that. And that's just something that I've chose to do for myself. And
Right.
I mean, somebody that's making just insane amount of money and then they go broke, it's like, well, like I can't really feel bad for him because
Right.
it's like, dude, you've had more money than I probably will ever see, and yet you still failed with it, and that's just because of lack of intelligence on your part. I mean,
Right.
it's unfortunate. I don't want to see any homie go broke, but like, come on, dude, you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you. I don't feel that they should be paid less money because I mean actually I think Big Bad actually said it. What athlete is going to take less money?
Right.
Um, I agree with that. Um, it's their own fault if
Mm,
if you're getting paid six figures and you've got millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then by the time you retire from that sport, you have to file for bankruptcy. That's on you, bro.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's your own. That's your own fault.
And I mean, how hard is it to put a good chunk of change in the bank? And I mean, once you have a good amount of money to put into a bank, the bank's going to be excited about it and they're going to offer you higher interest rates, man. Most people in the world could put in a couple $1 million into a bank and live off the interest for the rest of their lives comfortably.
Oh yeah,
Comfortably.
easy.
And I mean, and that's just something so simple. I mean,
Right,
if you put some money into stocks and like got a stockbroker and had somebody way smarter than you taking care of it, so that way you don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's just passive income, and that's taxed extremely less. Interest income is some of the least taxed income out of all of it, and investing income and passive income, which is why a lot of rich people just keep getting richer, is because they're taxed considerably less.
right,
And I mean, when you got that kind of money, bro, if I had that kind of money, I would hire some smart people to get me on that side of the income because I mean, the working man gets taxed like anywhere from 40 to 60%, whereas passive income's taxed like 20% and lower, and investment income is taxed near 0%. Like, get me in there, dude. Get me in there.
right, right. Yeah, monkey in chat says at that age you don't know what you have until it's gone, and when it's gone, they are stuck. Yeah, exactly.
It's really unfortunate.
I mean, don't get me
But,
wrong. It sucks that to see a favorite player of yours end up having to file for bankruptcy, but it's like, dude, really? Like,
mm-hmm.
what are you doing?
I mean, even still, after bankruptcy, they can kind of use their name to get some things going.
Oh
Like
yeah,
at a certain point, their brand is them their person, so they can get back up there again. Filing for bankruptcy is unfortunate, but it's not the end. Like
right,
you're never
right.
gonna be broke for the rest of your life because you went bankrupt. But um, it's definitely a humbling experience. I can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, Big Bad
These are
said
good questions.
they need to be more responsible with their money. Yeah, absolutely, Big Bad. Yeah, that definitely falls on them.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not the organization's fault. It's not the the league that they're in. That's not their fault.
Yeah, and I mean, how you gonna come at somebody and be like, dude, you're being real dumb with your money. You need to like do something else. How many people are actually gonna listen to that? Like,
Exactly. Hey, Nick, what's going on,
Oh,
man?
evening. How are you guys?
Not too bad.
doing good, brother.
We actually,
Everybody healthy, safe?
what was that?
Everybody healthy and safe, family and all?
Yeah,
Yep.
Good, good.
we actually just finished with the question you submitted, Nick,
Ah, nice.
and it was the
How the,
why do pro athletes go broke so quickly after retiring from their sport, and should they be paid less to have better financial control?
no, this is weird, right? You're expecting somebody that like plays in the NBA or the NFL. They make millions, really millions.
Yep.
And it's so much money you're starting to think, how could you ever go broke, man? It seems like an impossible job to me, but they do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. We all
I
kind
mean,
of we're all kind of in agreement with the you know they're they're spending it on things that material things rather than being realistic with it.
hmm I mean,
There's this,
think about it. Like when most people get a raise at work, right? Do do they use that raise more often than not? Do they use that raise to pay off past debt? They're like, oh, I've been living on my old wage, and I might as well just use this extra, couple $100 a month or whatever to just paying off debt. No, man, they don't.
No.
Most people won't do that. As their income goes up, their expenses go up too because they think that they can afford a bit better of a lifestyle and stuff like that. And so more often than not, they end up putting themselves into a worse spot the more they get paid, which is just crazy, but it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do.
I've had this conversation with my wife by chance yesterday, and I said to her like, even if I make 10 million euros a year, I still wouldn't want to buy $1 million home. I still don't want a Ferrari in front of the door.
Right.
It's not my thing, and I know that. To me, a car is a material thing. It only lasts for a good decade, maybe, and then you get a new one. And so, what's the value of something you're gonna replace in 10 years with something new? So, what's the purpose of that thing being $500,000, right? To me, that's absurd. How people spend their money and what they think, and they're not spending it because they like the car. They're spending it because they like the way people look at them because they have
Hmm.
the car. It's all
Yeah.
about image. It's not about
Yep.
the car. It's all about the image that the car provides to other people. And having a good environment is such an important thing right now, especially financially. If your group of people that you're with and you spend time with is not on the same financial level as you are, you're gonna have problems
Right.
because either you can't keep up or the other party can't keep up. So you need to be on the same level, to be, and you shouldn't be. Most people just, you know, go crazy because they see other people do it. You need to control yourself. You need to be able to make your own choices and do what you want to do, not because somebody else did it. You should do it. It's that environment that's so highly toxic. In that sense. And those pro athletes, they make millions. Some shark comes in and is like, you should invest in this. And that's where the shit goes wrong. They are so misinformed and not knowing what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, Monkey Tart in chat says a lot of it is boredom, and which turns into an addiction. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
very true.
that boredom is because they are allowed to have everything, because they make millions, so everything is available. If they would make less money, do you think they would be still be spending the same shit and doing the same stuff? No, they would be more wise and think about where they spend it on. So that's like it's I think it's crazy that football players like Cristiano Ronaldo just transfer for 100 million euros. 100 million.
Mm,
Yeah.
You know how many lives you could just save with that kind of money, because the average person in life in their career makes about 2.2 million
Mhm.
on average.
Yeah.
So that would mean we could nearly save 50 people, not having to work in their life, and he just makes it by transferring from one club to the other. It's crazy.
right.
And I think one of the people that said it best is actually Tupac, the rapper, who said it best. There's how can you be spending so much money and having so much money while there's people not having a home? How is that realistic? Where's the equality in that?
Right.
You know, and in that sense, like this also, it's sports is going crazy, man. It's just crazy how the one athlete I really admire is Shaquille O'Neal. That's one of the brilliant minds. He's not just an athlete. He's a businessman. He's
Oh
really
yeah.
educated businessman.
Hmm.
Right? So he's like, he knows what he's doing, and he was also willing to learn, in the
Hmm.
sense
Yeah.
of people told him, if you get money, half of it goes to savings and half you can do whatever. But the smarter people say that other half you just divide it in another half, and you go spend 25% of what you get, you spend on whatever you want, and the other 75% you just save it or you invest it into something, which makes more money.
Hmm.
But this is just that brilliant mindset, I'm starting to figure it out now myself, like I recently I'm on the urge of quitting smoking, so just to trying to save up some money, and just trying to progress myself, by looking around, trying to maybe go into cryptocurrency or something else just to make more money for the future. But in any case, I would never buy on no matter how much money I have, I would never buy a Ferrari or uh, a $1 million mansion. I would never do it. I would buy a regular home, one family home,
Right.
and build my family there, and just whatever money I have left, I would just, help my family, my brother, my sister, trying to make life better for them, and trying to be productive myself in my environment by, trying to get to know the right people, so you can grow.
Right. Right.
It's really, it's nowadays because of social media and mostly the internet. A lot of things have changed, man, and nothing is the same anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to reinvent yourself again. That's how it feels like, you have to begin as a new person online as you were in, day-to-day basis life. So now you're being viewed by millions of viewers on an internet screen.
right. Right.
It's just imagine, and like things like I really don't watch any TV anymore, basically, because all the things on TV are just, I don't feel it. I'm not like, I'm gonna turn on the TV and I'm gonna watch, because it feels to me like I'm wasting my time.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. It's really, I've been really thinking about this. It's really, you have to nowadays, you have to really reinvent yourself and make yourself a figure on the internet, online. You know, because you're gonna reach a lot of people online. That you can't reach through television or some
Well,
other.
it's a more personal personalized way of communicating. Whereas TV, you get to see them on the screen, but you don't really get to see them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whereas doing
It's
doing the streaming or doing anything like online, it's more of a personal interaction.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but it's really like, to me, for some people, they lose the vision of reality and virtuality. They really lose themselves. That boundary between what's real and what's virtual is getting smaller and smaller. Like, some people nowadays are thinking GTA is life, and they start doing crazy shit
I
on
mean,
the road.
you had that with the Fast and the Furious movies too. I mean, you got all the people that a new Fast and the Furious movie comes out in the theaters, so then everybody goes to the theater where bringing their souped up cars and doing burnouts in the parking lot when the movie's over and doing that kinds of stupid shit. But
I think
uh
I think we can all agree that this kind of all boils down to the fact that they're just not educated enough.
yeah,
Like in in what they should be doing. Like they're not taking it upon themselves. They don't have somebody to teach them how to handle this kind of money. No,
yeah,
most people, I mean, the we don't teach it. We don't
yeah,
teach it. There's very few courses about it, and most. I mean, you got to find them yourself, and you got to go and take it upon yourself. I mean, it could be something that maybe um, like your coach and stuff like that. Like once you get into the big leagues and stuff like that, that they have somebody on deck or somebody to recommend, be like, hey, you're about to like, your whole life is going to change right now. And we don't want to see you, um, end up screwing yourself out of it in the long run, like like a lot of people do. Here's some resources that we have found to really influence players and help them go about this part of their life with ease and just comfortability for setting you up for a life of success rather than a time of success. And just give them these little resources to outreach on, and then the coaches have done their part, and then it's on the player to decide if they want to take up those resources and put and set themselves better for success.
yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
I
that's
don't
something.
yeah.
I don't think it should be a choice. I think it should be,
Yeah,
like,
good luck
from
telling an American that he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah,
no,
no
no,
shit.
what I mean, I think it should be like from the team you are playing for. The team should be, you know, responsible for taking care of their players, even though,
I
especially
disagree with
when
that one.
especially when it comes down to big numbers. They should be
Well,
responsible.
see, at that point, it's almost like you're punishing the team for it. It's not the team's fault that
No,
one
no,
individual
it's
can't
it's
control his shit.
Yeah.
It's not the team's fault.
that's true, but I think it should be the team that represents this player should be responsible for making sure they know what they're doing, and be responsible with this kind of money. It's ridiculous that somebody that makes millions a year, like really millions a year, hundreds of millions a year,
I
and
mean,
and and then
as
eventually, after 2 years, they retire. They're broke. They're in debt, or there's something wrong. They're not financially. They get kicked out of their homes and whatever, and have to pay debts from here to whenever. It's ridiculous. I think they should be at least taught how to, you know, deal with such big numbers responsible. You know,
I mean, I definitely think that they should have resources. I don't think it should fall on the team at all. It's not. I mean, the team. If the team's responsible for it, man, like that's a very
well, it's
that's just kind of
if you
scary
look at it
because
if you
if
look at it this way, right? The team is the employer of the player, right? So the player is an employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
no, they're a contractor, 100%. They have a value, and once their value is not being met, or
Okay.
then
Yeah.
the team
But
can
they
get rid
have a
of them. They're
contract,
not an
right? So
employee. They're not an employee.
if you look at it
The
basic, they're
team does
working for
not
a team,
offer
right?
insurance. The team does not cover them at all. It falls 100% on the player to make sure that he's in top condition. I mean, the team does have like helpful stuff for like when you're injured and stuff like that for sure. They'll help out with that,
Right.
but they don't offer them much more than an employer would offer a contractor. Like they're not an employee at all.
Yeah. The
Weird,
employ the
right?
employer is the NFL, for instance, and then each individual team has their own contracts, which would be the
Yep.
players.
It's weird to me. That should be different, don't you think?
Mm-mm. Nope.
I think the the responsibility of a player's health should be always the team.
Oh, and they
The
do.
team does
In
help
a
They
out.
have
sense,
The team
they
does
have
in
the
help
a
out.
doctors and
sense,
stuff for each individual
Yeah.
team.
you
Yep.
So they're
know. I
always looking
mean,
out for that. But as far as the finances part of it, that's solely
And I mean,
on the
and,
player.
and I mean, what employer
weird.
helps out with finances?
Yeah,
They don't
my
do
employer
that.
doesn't help me with my finances.
No,
Mm-mm.
but they don't pay you millions, don't they?
No,
No.
but
No.
even your $1 billion companies don't
So
they
your
don't
options of going crazy with millions of dollars is quite limited.
I mean,
So
my thing is, if you're getting paid millions of dollars and you're not making the active decision to make sure that you use that money effectively and make sure that you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of success. In my opinion, I don't wish it on anybody, but if you do put yourself in such a bad spot, you shouldn't have had that money anyways. Like
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
if you don't have the capability of understanding that you need to be doing something different with your money to make sure it sticks around and you're choosing to spend all this money on a day-to-day basis. You know how much money you have. Like I don't care if you've got millions and billions. You know how much money you have and you know how much money you're spending. You may not know exactly to the exact dollar, but you know what you're doing. And we're not talking about one or two bad.
funny. It's
We're
funny
talking
that you
about
say that,
years
right?
and years and years of bad decisions. And I think
Yeah,
you
that's
might be
true.
giving them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, but realistically, they've been making bad decisions for a very, very, very long time. They've had multiple discussions in their head, I'm sure, that they know what they're doing to themselves and they're setting themselves up for failure. But instead of deciding to change that and take a little bit of a harder route to take away a little bit of comfortability in their life to set them up for a lifetime of success, they choose instead to live the bougie life for a short period of time
But
and
that's
figure
the
it out later.
environment. That's the toxic environment they're in.
But that's doesn't fall on anybody else but themselves. Like, yeah, you might be in a toxic
True.
environment, but it's still you're an adult. I mean, they're like adults. Like they're double my age.
right, right,
Like they're like adults, and they've had so much life experience. They know what kind of situation they're in, and they need to be a better person to themselves, not anybody else, to themselves, and they need to set themselves up. And that doesn't fall on anybody else, and nor should it fall on anybody else. It is 100% their choice and their bed that they're lying in. So I do feel bad for them losing out on all that money, but at the same time, it's like you did make your bed. Now you got to lie in it.
right.
Next time, I hopefully you will do something different with your money. Like
So so Monkey in chat says you're still employed by the franchise, well-being, health, but that's like me coming to your job and saying, okay, your earnings is this. You can only spend this. You have a
Ah,
responsibility to
yeah,
yourself at the end of the day.
Right.
yeah, true. The responsibility is always yourself in the first place. You can't blame your actions on somebody else. It's always your own choice.
All
But
right.
the toxic environment they're in, they see everybody that's also a pro athlete. They see them do crazy shit. So you get pulled into that kind of environment, right?
Oh,
Are
And
those the same people that are going to go
it's.
broke as well?
I
Like, that's
mean,
my
yeah,
question.
my thing would
those
be
people are
is
still
it's
going
kind
broke.
of
Yeah,
it's almost like a one-upsmanship as far as that comes across. Like
Mm-hmm.
this person's going to go out, they're going to buy a Rolls Royce. So now this
yeah,
person's
that's
going to and now this person's going to go out and be like, oh well, he bought that, so I might as well too. And their financial situation is entirely different.
yeah. But that's another thing. You see a lot of those. I don't know if you guys watch that, but those Daniel Mac videos on
Uh,
on TikTok. Do you watch them?
I can't say that I've seen them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, if you watch them, he's always running up to a high-end car like a
Oh, yeah.
Lamborghini or whatever. But
Yep.
most of the time, when you look through the mirror, through the window, it's always a young person behind the wheel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like figuring out how is this possible, And they're like, this some answers are just not, you know, entirely true, and it's crazy. Every time he pulls up, you should pay attention to it. Every time he pulls up to a high-end car, it doesn't matter which one it is. Most of the time, it's a young person behind the wheel, and I'm like, how? How is this possible? I couldn't even dream of getting a BMW, which is like 50K, maybe 60K, and these people drive around in $300,000 cars, like, hello.
Right. All right. We're gonna go
And
ahead
I'm
and
like,
jump to the next question here. Um, this one's submitted by the Asian one, and it was have touch
Adrian!
have touchdown celebrations gone too far?
As in the penalties for touchdown celebrations?
No, just the celebrations in general. Now that they can pretty much do whatever they want, do you think players have taken it too far?
how can you go too far celebrating? I'm just wondering.
I think it has a lot to do with affecting the opponent's morale. I think.
Yeah.
Um, I think that there's a fine line between celebration and bragging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
but as much as I would like to, you know, discuss this, but sports has always been a physical as well as a mental game. So
100%.
Yep.
they're of course you're going to celebrate if you score a point. Can you go too far? Absolutely. If you pull down your pants during the celebration, yeah, of course it's too far.
Hmm.
Of course. But where do you draw the line in this kind of thing? It's hard. It's a blurred line. It's
I mean, I think that the touchdown celebrations and stuff. I'm glad that is back. I know college is having their issues with celebrations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think potentially like there is like a little maybe like a time frame, like a 10-second time frame where you can celebrate with the homies and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, you know, anything after this is just bad sportsmanship. You need to show due respect to the other team as well. You don't need to be embarrassing them, making them feel a certain type of way and stuff like that. I think that there's a fine line. So if there was like, like a 10-second cool down, like, yeah, celebrate, like give your buddies a high five, good play, smack each other on the ass, like, good job. But there's a certain point where the celebration's just gone too far and you're just kind of slapping the other team in the face. And yes, it is kind of a mental game, but I think also there's just a unspoken rule of sportsmanship that you just need to be honoring. Like
let me
they
ask you
worked hard
this:
to be there,
you
and you
you
just
you play NFL on a console with friends?
Yes.
why?
Do you play any competitive game with friends on a console or a computer or?
Oh yeah.
Well, when you score a point and you're like, you want to put it in the guy's face, right?
I mean, yeah. It's difficult. Like I don't. I will celebrate and I'll be like, good shit, guys. Like that was a good play and stuff like that. Or like I'll be like, if I, 1v3 a team, I'll be like, yeah, get shit on. But as
But that's the
I don't like.
same. That's the same.
Okay, that's a celebration though. Like that's a celebration, right? But I'm not like actively doing it to the teams to the right in front of the team, like I'm not finding them on social media or whatever, like talking that to
But
right to them where they can see me. It's a celebration between me and my teammates, nobody else. Like
yeah,
nobody
but
else has any influence on that, and that's the difference,
that's
is
what
that
social media brings.
when you're celebrating in the NFL, live in front of millions of viewers, not only are you affecting the team, but you're affecting their entire fan base as well. Whereas when I'm playing Apex or I'm playing with my homie or something like that, that's a celebration between the two of us or the three of us, as opposed to flexing
It,
on everybody and all of their fan base and all of them right in front of their faces. I think is a distinction. I can't really see the comparison between those two scenarios.
well, it's about the competitive side, about about when you score a point and you're playing with friends, you're also gonna put it in your friend's face, saying, "Ha, I scored, ha," and then it's up to them to get back at you or lose the game. That's either way how it goes. But they're just using from what I get for you, they're just using social media, which is already a toxic environment. Social media is a toxic environment,
That's usually after the
and
game, though.
Mm-hmm.
it's just a mental game that they're playing, and yeah, some play it up better than others. And is it right? No. Is it wrong? Maybe. But it's still a mental game. If you lose, you lose. You're gonna hear about it. If Eminem dropped the bomb today, he's gonna hear about it tomorrow.
Right.
That's just how it is, and they're just playing a mental game, and they're using new resources to do it, and that's in this case is social media. That's my reason why I'm not on social media that much anymore, because it's just pure trash. It's pure trash, just pure people wanting to be in the spotlight for attention. Oh, look at my video. Oh, look at my video. Oh, look at my. Everybody. And they're all doing the same stupid challenge. It's. What are we watching? I mean, I've recently deleted TikTok because, it's just utterly waste of time and garbage. Pure garbage. You're watching a dude do a flip. Woohoo! Great, good for you. You know what I mean? It's like there is no value in it. I'm not getting better from it. I'm just being the same, and I'm just stupidly watching a screen for several hours a day. That's TikTok.
so,
And putting a thumbs up on a video that I like. Woo.
so Monkey in chat says you can't compare gaming to the sport. The emotional ups and downs can't compete. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Game.
That's true. That's true. But I was more comparing the competitive side of whether it was a video game or a sport. There's always that competitive side. That's the important
Oh,
part.
I I will be the first one to admit I am a very competitive person. I know when to stop. As far as, don't get me wrong,
It's
I played football. I played it for several years, and I would be the first one to celebrate when I got a sack. But I knew when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
yeah, but that's just the thing. That's individually.
we
We're
we
talking
as a
about a
team
whole team.
we as a team, if we scored a touchdown, absolutely we would go and celebrate. But again, we knew as a team
On the
when
field, probably, and on the field
when
only.
when enough was enough as far as that celebration and what celebrations to do when. We weren't going to celebrate. You might celebrate for a brief second until you found out that player that you just made a tackle on got hurt. Then the celebration
Right.
stopped and you all took
Yep.
a knee. Everything was good. But
Yep. And
like
that's
the,
showing them
the biggest
respect.
issue I have with college and pro level as far as football is concerned is the taunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, but
The,
that's always
the
there, and that's another part of the competitive
right.
side gone wrong,
The
right? There's
taunting
good
is the part.
competition, and
The taunting is the part that is affecting the celebration part of it,
Yep.
because
so
taunting is a penalty in football.
Yes.
Celebrating is
uh,
not.
Yeah.
However, they're doing the taunting as a celebrate,
Yeah.
and you're causing an issue. You
Yep.
know, if you make a play on the
so
sideline and you start running your mouth to the sideline, you're going to get
Yep.
penalized for it.
Yep.
But then they try to do that same thing when they score a point. They
Mm-hmm.
start running their mouth. At that point, I have an issue.
Yeah.
well, it depends on what's being said, of course, but
I mean,
but
don't get me wrong.
if you're gonna humiliate the other team, then it's wrong. Yeah, of course.
You know, I,
And celebrations should just be on the field and nowhere
I will
else.
be the first one to admit when I played football, I would talk some smack. It's just
But
how. But I
that's what
never.
the
But I
competitive
didn't.
side brings out.
But I never took that any further. Like I would tell somebody, when I lined up across from them, that they were going to get owned on this play. But that was I wouldn't go over to their sideline and start running my mouth. I wouldn't do it. That's where it stopped. And that happens all the time on a football field. Your
Mm-hmm.
wide receivers lining up across from your corner, they're gonna sit there and banter back and forth. But that's where that should
Right.
stop. It shouldn't go any further than that.
Yeah.
I think the taunting is causing the issue with people not liking the celebrating because
But you
they're
do,
they're they're come they're becoming they're meshing, and that's where the issue is.
but you do agree with me that football is one of the sports that is highly aggressive and
Oh, absolutely, it is.
highly full of adrenaline. So you could expect the player to go wild, after
Right, but
a
again,
brilliant play.
there's a limit.
And there
Mm-hmm.
is a limit. I'm totally agreeing on with you on that, and it's up to the player and the team to keep it at that.
Okay, but we can agree that the NFL is like the elite of the elite, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So if they're the elite of the elite, they should be handling themselves better than anybody else
They
in
should be
in
Example,
showing
their
us what
respective
what the
game.
proper things to do are.
Exactly. Exactly. And so if
They're
they're
supposed to be
out
that
there
role
acting like
model figure.
a bunch of college and high school kids on a rivalry team, like, they need to man up, and they need to realize that they are setting an example for millions of people playing that respective sport, and they should be held to a higher standard because they are the standard. Like, they
yeah,
really are.
don't you think it should be a coach's job to teach them how to be respectful and professional in
Ooh,
their sport?
yes and
It's
no.
it's 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 a part of their own choice, of course. They need to do it because they're examples to others, especially when you're professional, because you are a professional. You're getting paid for what you're doing, so you should be representable. You should be an example to other players who are below your standard and showing how it's supposed to be.
Right.
So it's yeah, it's really, I think it's also, a coach should be responsible for his players, and teach them how to be professionals.
Oh yeah, big time. And they do. And they do. I mean, a lot of times when they're, called for those taunting charges and stuff like that, a lot of times the coach will pull them off. A lot of times they will.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pull him off. They'll talk to him on the sideline, kind of bring him in, rein him in a little bit, and then they'll put him back out in the field, a couple plays later or something like that. That happens all the time. But it's one of those really dumb penalties that coaches hate to see.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
make a big play and then you get penalized right away because one of your linemen's taunting, the quarterback's taunting you, wide receivers are taunting or whatever. It just takes away from the play and it just devalues
So,
the play. And so
so I
that's just a
think
big
there should
problem.
be a responsible role for a coach to say, all right, you're coming off because you can't behave. You're not a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being
Yep.
a professional. And they should, I think it should be logical that a team could say, okay, you want to behave like an asshole? You're going to penalize by the team because you're paying a fine now because you were an idiot. And maybe they will learn, you know? You're going to have to, you're going to have to penalize these people with money actually, with their income, because they're professionals. They don't feel it any other way. So if you're gonna, I think it would be a really smart solution for a coach to say, all right, you want to be an asshole, you want to be not professional, you're gonna go off the field, you're not going to play, and your salary is going to be reduced because you're not playing and you're not being of value to the team.
I could see that.
So
It will never happen, but I could see it.
no, I mean either. I know it's not going to happen, but it should be a responsibility of a coach because I remember when I was little and my brother used to be in a soccer team, right? And my dad used to be the coach of this soccer team, and he really told them like there's certain rules that we follow when we play. We respect the opponent. We don't go crazy on them. And, certain rules. Like if somebody's shoelaces weren't tied, he would get the player off and somebody else would go in who had tied shoelaces because he wouldn't want to see somebody sitting down tying their shoes. Just simple rules like that. And that's the same as going with professionals. If you want them to behave like professionals, you have to teach them to be professionals.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
I
it's
agree.
not gonna it's not gonna happen by themselves. These boys and men are, fresh from college and going into the NFL with a young age and just out of high school, so they're still boys in a mental state that, know how to play football and they're probably gonna play football for God knows how long. And I think it's really responsible for a team to just say, you want to be a professional, you have to be taught how to be a professional because you're still young, you're still growing, and we need to educate you to become a professional football player instead of you're in the team, so you're now a professional football player.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that status of professional football player isn't acquired because they had to educate themselves to become it. They just went in and got it. It's it's it seems like not the right thing to do.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in, but I think we are going to wrap up the show there for today. It's been fun. I've enjoyed the conversation today.
Yeah, me too,
Yeah, dude.
man. I love being here.
Thanks for the follow, by the way, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
I want to thank everybody in chat. Monkey Tart, Big Bad, Short Fuse. Thank you guys for jumping in and contributing into the chat as well. Nix, thanks for stopping in, bud.
Anytime, bro. Anytime, bro. Next time. Mhm.
But we are gonna raid out. We're gonna raid Caffeinated Diabetic today. If you guys don't follow him, please, please, please give him a follow. Let's see what he's playing today. He's playing Super Star Wars apparently. So give him a follow. He's a cool dude. But we are going to raid out, and I am going to end that there for today. You too. Absolutely. Yep, same bat time, same bat channel. All right, man. Yep. Thank you, guys.